Get into the action all summer long. Listen to that. Summer.
Woo!
The season's over. The NHL season's over. The NBA season's over. But there's still lots happening at Sports Interaction, including we got the draft coming up. We got free agency coming up for both of those sports, plus tennis, golf, whatever it is you're into, baseball, all happening right now at sportsinteraction.com/SDPN.
You can bet on those things. You can bet on free agency and draft.
Exactly. And we're going to actually throw a bunch of props up in the Dangles Doozy section as well. And remember, everything's you can do before games, live and play all summer long. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN or download the app to get started. It's 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Now, when we look at the way that the Leafs are structured, this is Brendan Shanahan's last bullet. This is it. He's replaced a general manager. He's replaced a couple coaches. He's replaced a couple general managers too. Because didn't he fire the previous guy and bring in Lou Lamoriello and Kyle Dubas eventually?
You think one season is a bullet?
I actually do, and I think the reason why is they want to have a look at, and CJ went on and talked about this. They want to get rid of some of the people that the Leafs were in love with that I believe, and I think if you're a Leaf fan with eyeballs, despite what the charts will tell you, held them back. We know that Kerfoot, Hall, and Bunting, according to CJ on the Chris Johnson show yesterday, will not be back. Two of those guys, like Bunting is his own thing, but the Leafs put a heck of a lot of faith in two guys that really delivered not much for them.
No.
And by a heck of a lot of faith, I don't just mean the money. I mean, Kerfoot was making too much money for what he delivered. He had a really bad regular season, scored a big goal in the playoffs, big OT goal, and I was thrilled for him. You're rooting for these people, but at the end of the day, people were talking about how great the Hall and Muzzin pairing was. And then they're like, see, Muzzin without Hall, he stinks. And I'm like, that's because anybody else other than Hall is fucking terrible on this roster. They were super weak up the right side. They've never had... at least at that point.
Get a righty.
Oh.
Well, does TJ Brody work? Well, he shoots left, but fuck it, sure.
Well, I mean, maybe that's why Babs made the comment he did when they got Muzzin instead of a right shot defenseman.
Dude, the Leafs' right side was so bad for so long that their best right-handed defenseman shoots left.
Or Cody Ceci played with Morgan Rielly for an entire season on the top pair. And I think that Brad Treliving apparently wants to remake the Leafs defense. If it looks anything like Calgary's in a couple of years, I'm loving it.
Well, that's wild because most of the Leafs decor is locked up to next year.
Well, sure, but that's movable. They said they've talked about the core four not moving, but here.
No, I'm excited is what I'm saying. That part has me excited.
I want to throw something out there, and I love this player. I especially love this player in the playoffs. But after the playoffs that Morgan Rielly had, with that extension kicking in, with the injuries that he had all last year. Is that an option?
Morgan Rielly, for what he makes, is a great value contract.
He
makes $7.5 million, and
a playoff performer.
He's easily your best defenseman. Like, he was the best player in the playoffs. Like, that dude's a gamer during the playoffs, and there's evidence to prove that Morgan Rielly will show up in big games in the playoffs, which is what you need, which is worth more than $7.5 millition.
It's a really tough sell.
Question for
you. I don't think that you should be moving.
And I'm going through the list here. Then TJ Brody at $5 million. You got 1 year left. We like TJ Brody. Most of the time you don't hear about TJ Brody, which means he's doing a good job.
If you can move off him for a trade that makes sense, sure. But I'm not sure how much that trade is
at that number. You probably just sit on it for the year.
Right.
$5 million is gonna. What swap are you making for? Because somebody's paying for a rental of TJ Brody.
Yes.
What do you? And are the Leafs?
I think you would move off it. The idea in theory would be to. I don't think there's a hockey trade there. I think it would be like, we want to move that. We want to deploy these dollars in a different way.
Yeah, I don't think the Leafs are in a position to be making things that aren't hockey trades.
I saw Jason Gregor talking about acquiring TJ Brody and then buying him out because his contract's, I guess, built an interesting way. Can you buy him out on cap friendly? Because that made no sense to me, but it was the first I had ever heard of it.
Where's the buy out this contract button?
I got it here.
There it is. Fine.
It's actually not bad. Well, it's bad. You buy him out, it's a split even cap, right? So it's
2.5.
2.5 because he's making $7.5 million.
So maybe I misunderstood him because that doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't. Yeah, maybe you did. I don't. I also don't think it makes any sense to buy him out anyway. I do think he's a useful player.
He's incredibly useful.
The problem with the Leafs defense, and this is why I'm glad Treliving is here to remake it, is then you have Jake McCabe, who's
at $2 million.
At $2 million for 2 more years. He's 29, and you know what? I want to see Jake McCabe when he's got a full full training camp to adjust the system. I thought he was very useful, and then I thought there were times where you're like, "Holy shit, Jake! What the hell was that?"
I know his at $2 million. His mission is to be consistently better than Justin Hall. Can you please crawl over that goddamn bar?
Yes, he can. Timothy Liljegren at 1.4, and then he's an RFA next year, and then you've got Connor Timmins and Mark Giordano under deal, and then Gustafsson, Hall, and Luke Shen. And I believe they're going to re-sign Luke Shen eventually, but at a pretty low number. Hall and Gustafsson, I think, are as good as gone. There's an opportunity here for them to fully flip this around.
Timmins, I could see going, just because he was sort of a Dubas reclamation project, and now Dubas is gone.
Can you send him down?
You can, yeah, you could.
You can, and I think that's
no cap it.
Yeah, I think Timmins would be a great Marley.
Yeah,
fuck.
And you know what? Maybe you need depth. You need depth. And Giordano shouldn't be playing anything more than third line minutes or third pair minutes.
Send him to the Penguins.
Giordano, his body crumbled by the time game 82 came around, and he had to play 83.
I wonder if that's a guy.
He wasn't up for the playoffs.
I wonder if that's a guy where you stop giving him the option of playing and you say, "Listen, we're going to play you for 40 or 45 games this year. We want you for the playoffs. We want you fresh for the playoffs."
I wish you could take a year off and just come to the Leafs in I don't know, February.
Yeah,
and then just start
100%.
playing from there.
Hey,
go sit at home till February.
I got one. Don't have a cap situation so fucked that you're starting university students, having university students back you up while your starting goaltender, weeks before the playoffs, is injured.
Yep.
We don't talk about that enough. And people are like, "Steve, why are you obsessed with the $34,000 Matthews is making at the end of his contract?" That's the difference.
Because at the end of the year, that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, man.
And so
Logan Roy in Succession.
This team is
You are
going to
not
look
serious people. If you're defending that,
this is going to look like a very different team. I think Matt Murray's contract is either buried on LTIR or gone,
or bought out. It might get bought out.
Okay, let me have a look at that buyout calculator.
It's not great. It's not terrible.
It's your cap hit this year is 680,000, excuse me. And then next year it's 2 million.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
Instead of 4.6. So you're saving, I think, roughly 4 million the first year and 2 million.
And they could use that because they've got a lot of free agency. The thing is that
the most fun thing about buying out Matt Murray's contract is you get to screw Ottawa a little.
Oh yeah, they take a hit.
You get to send $200,000 to their cap hit, and then $600,000 the next year.
Sorry, Pierre Dorion or whoever is replacing Pierre Dorion that we're being open about.